Shabbat, Shabbat, come home and rest. Shabbat, Shabbat, Yahweh's best. Lay down the weak, let your soul be free. Shabbat, Shabbat, come back to me. 6 days we work, then we bask. We leave the noise to hear Yah's voice. We listen, we learn, we struggle to know. We walk with Yah through the mikveh. Shabbat, Shabbat, come home and rest. Shabbat, Shabbat, Yahweh's best. Lay down the weak, let your soul be free. Shabbat, Shabbat, come back to me.
Hey, well, welcome to the Shabbat Family Hour show. We've got another stranger up there in my pool. Not too much of a stranger. I spend more time with you than I do with most people because of the vlog on the vlog. But I'm glad you're here for a good swim. That's Kevin. Leah is beneath him. Leah has got yourself all settled now. You got your ice, your microphone ready to go.
Yeah, ready to go.
Okay, this is good.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Yeah, Shabbat shalom. Dr. Jeff, great to see you. Congratulations on your first show with Leah and refuting rabbinic rubbish. And there we've got Sigmund Freud sitting below us in his studio with his illustrations off to the right. I understand you guys have a little skit for us where you're going to be interviewing, psychoanalyzing Rabbi Putz.
Well, yes, I wanted to share a project we were doing. I already posted a few things, and everybody didn't know what we were doing, so I thought it'd be a good idea to tell the story.
Okay.
So whenever you're ready,
We are ready. Okay. Is Rabbi Putz available?
He can be called upon. And
he can be called upon. And Sigmund is the one diagnosing the nature of Rabbi Putz.
Yeah, he's the one analyzing Rabbi Putz. Yeah, Sigmund is an iconic figure, so I chose to use him as the voice, to analyze several things and all the different religions and so forth. And as you probably know, I've already begun this project where I'm on the board over here, just for fun, I've got Muhammad being analyzed, and over here we've got...
Can you imagine being a psychiatrist and analyzing Muhammad? So you were 66 years old, yes, and she was your best friend's daughter. Is that correct?
Huh?
Yes. Was he your only friend? Oh, yes, he was. Well,
Yeah,
maybe I can see why. And you had sex with a 6-year-old girl that was your best friend's daughter. Yeah, that's correct. And you want to present yourself as the founder of religion, a man that's speaking for God. And you went and did it with your best friend's 6-year-old daughter, and you're 66 years old?
Would you like the diagnosis?
Yeah.
You don't need Freud. I can do it.
Yeah, I don't need Freud to diagnose that. Sir, you're demon-possessed.
It's called the dark triad.
Yeah, I think you're demon-possessed there, pal. And I understand she wasn't the only one that you took advantage of. Other issues? Oh, yeah. Incest, rape.
More rape, slavery.
More rape.
Sadistic, murder, torture.
Terrorism, slave trade. That's one of your favorites. Okay, yeah. Okay, psychoanalysis. He would be very similar to psychoanalyzing Donald Trump, wouldn't it?
Well, that's coming. That's coming.
That's coming. Oh, good. I'm glad.
They share the same metrics.
We've got the final thing for his results of him heading off the show. So, but anyway,
I'm glad. What we're going to have some fun with this. The doctor is in, and you're going to begin with analyzing Rabbi Putz.
Well, I'm going to tell the story of this because I want to give a shout out to John Boyd, who's done so much for it, and then I'll tell you how the problem I was having on the last one. I didn't have much trouble with Want to Be Jesus, but when I got to Putz, I really didn't know what name to call, and that was and Jeff filled me in, and I called him up, and I'm going to do a little something before I finish this, but. I said, I've got to have some good material, and you know more than I, obviously. So, I've known Jeff for 20-something years, or 20 years, and we talk, every week, I think, most of our lives. So, I think he's funny, and he uses $1 million words every time he turns around, and I have to look up constantly. But very smart. But he started getting onto this and helping me write this last part of this, and I just fell on the floor. It was just, I couldn't stop laughing. And y'all going to share that in a minute, but I want to tell you a little bit about what we're doing just for the future reference.
Okay.
I will say that about 2 weeks ago, you did a little thing on Contribute, and it doesn't matter how good it is or how bad it is. You got to start.
You got to start. That's right.
And then you got to finish. And I've been dragging on with these projects for several years now because I don't know. I have a thing. This is so serious what you do, and being part of what you do. I didn't know whether there's really a home where I could use what I do, and other than a painting or two, in this arena. So but then I started doing some stuff.
So you don't think there's good room for sarcasm here?
Oh yeah, Robert has a great sense of humor.
Yeah,
he's got the. I mean, God picked the wrong cast of characters if he doesn't like sarcasm
or humor.
I came to that realization. I just didn't know, whether I was up for it or not. But I wanted to be, just a little back history. I wanted to work for Mad Magazine, but it was virtually gone by the time I got my portfolio to New York. So, but it's always been in the back of my mind. And all of a sudden, I looked through hundreds of these drawings that I have, and I said, "Boy, this is enough material to do anything we want to do." So I got a hold to John Voight, and he's brilliant, by the way. He's the one that took that piece of art. He's now my new AI picture framer. He's really, really good in graphics and all that kind of thing. So he puts a polish on it that he's a remarkable guy. I mean,
I've worked with John on several projects, and he is always spectacular. He's a professional graphic artist.
Yes. And but I called him up and said, "Can we do this?" And he said, "Sure."
Okay, sure.
Okay. Great.
You found the right guy.
But anyway, so we came up with the idea that we would write, we would actually do a Y'all Was Really Mad magazine.
Okay.
And
that's probably not copyrighted, so that's probably fine.
No, we can do that. It's 1D, only 1D. So, So, and it's actually, you can't copyright a title anyway, but what the heck. But normally you wouldn't do that. But this is a play on it, so they would appreciate it. I do know the guy who used to run it.
Really? Okay.
The company. So I met him down here. But so John's going to produce it. I'm the art and storyline guy, and then I needed a writer of all things expert on Yehud, and that's when I called Jeff.
Okay.
But in any case, without further ado, I will set up what he's about to do. What we did was something, I started out with the basic premise that when I was on the show all the time with you and Shattering Myths, along the way, I said, I've got to have some material besides just being Ed McMahon and saying, yeah, you're right. Or I checked everything last night. And, yeah, you're right again. You're right again. You're right again. That gets a little boring. So what I tried to do was reduce what I had found into something that's usable. Back in those days, I used to invite a lot of people over for Shabbat, and then we would talk about Yahweh and so forth, and some of them were familiar with you, and some of them were not, and that didn't work out too well. They're all gone now.
They're all gone now.
So it must not have been a very
Did I scare them away, or you? I probably may.
Yeah. But I tried. But I used to write little bullet points. If you have these 10 or 12 things in your list, and you present that to someone, whether you're arguing to try to win them over or just to shut them up, you can say, okay, if you can't solve these problems, there's no point in us talking any further. And those were the ones that I tried to choose. So I use those pretty much as a format. So every time I do one of these characters, I can do the same thing based on what I learned from you and whatever research I can find as well. So we did Rabbi Putz. And so we hit all the bullet points, and we're not going to share those. You can read those later when we get it actually formatted and published. But I called upon my good buddy Jeff, and he's going to read what he wrote towards the end. I want to give him all the credit. It was so if you're ready, Jeff, you can just tell him you can do your famous routine. At least it is with me. And discuss and do the last page on the analytical part or the what is it? The psychological part of it.
Psychoanalysis.
Analysis, yeah, of Rabbi Putt. So take it away if you would.
Well. With all deference to my esteemed colleague Sigmund Freud. Yeah. Oi, Rabbi Putz, you have a severe neuropsychiatric condition known as HUTAS, H-U-T-S, head up the ass syndrome, which in clinical terms is characterized by a cranial-anal fistula. Now listen, my dear friends. A fistula is an anatomic connection between two body structures or organs, which is abnormal and pathological. Hence, Rabbi Putz, you have shit for brains. Now, I do not mean to insult or demean the shit, because excrement can and will be used for fertilizer. Now, why, may you ask, do I make such a diagnosis? Well, the short list includes the following. Ein, the term Rab. Your pots or anything but great or exalted. You are the opposite. Zwei, the most egregious crime that you have committed and you and your ilk continue to perpetuate is the violation of the third statement on the first tablet, which is found in Shemot 27. Okay? Anyone who ignores, negates, substitutes, and hates Yahweh's name has committed the irreversible sin. Drei, the creation of Christianity. Vier, the creation of Judaism. Fünf, the creation of Islam. How's it working out for you, your putz? I can go on, but I won't at this time. Suffice to say, the only way to deal with you and your ilk is to guarantee a quantity in eternity in Sheol. But before I leave, I will give you your first homework assignment, you putz. Go read Shemot 3:13 through 3:16. A Wiedersehen.
Who wouldn't want to work with that man?
Right?
That's great. That's a taste of what we're trying to do, and I hope you enjoyed it. And we'll continue to if somebody says quit it. Otherwise, we'll keep on going.
I lost it at Ein.
Well, it only took one thing to destroy him. That was you walked over Yahweh's name, you cut it out, you threw it away. That's enough.
Sarcasm and satire and being sardonic. Elia is the master. I will say that Yada, as of late, has really been catching up. Um,
I think so.
and it is a very serious subject because what these rascals and rats are responsible for cannot be quantified. On today's earlier vlog on the blog, when Yada was discussing the impact, for example, that the Zaredi have had, that malignant strain of Judaism, uh, it brings it to the fore. But I do think the use of this format can highlight and be used as an effective means to teach, enlighten, so that we can all continue to learn, live, and grow together.
Wow. Thank you, pal.
Rich, I think we lost Yada's mic. Hold on just a second. Let me try to. Yeah, it's in the studio, Rich, because I'm not seeing any level in StreamYard. Well, Yada, keep talking. Rich can try to troubleshoot it. You, Kirk, you want to tell us a little bit about the other drawings you had there?
Well, if you like, I don't know if you can see them very well, but the fun part was I'll describe them for if you can't see quite so well. I don't know if I can do this or no, it's got to go that way, I guess. But in this particular series, which I really enjoyed drawing this one. I've got now Sigmund's a little afraid here because he's having to deal with one of the most disgusting. In fact, that's how he concludes. One of the most disgusting human beings he's ever met.
1, 2,
And
3.
of course, you have.
There we got you. We got you, Yada. I hear Yada.
Okay.
You okay?
Yeah, I guess so. Go ahead, Kirk. Now
Oh,
I
go
guess
ahead.
we
Okay.
have audio again.
All right. I really had fun with this and trying to think of what should I put in there. And of course, I've got his death sword there. He looks like hell. And I know it towards the end, Sigmund asked him to please take his camel out of here who's eating his plant, his office plant. And then I put the little rat Akbar. And he said,
Little
"Thank you very
Akbar.
much,
Oh, right.
Rat."
Yeah. Al
Yeah.
Akbar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
He's not big enough to be a rat. He's still a mouse.
no, and then just go down a little bit. Maybe that'll help. The and Jesus was gave me a lot of material. The wannabe Jesus, I've got him with a big thorny crown. And he told him, if
nice
you're
crown.
uncomfortable, you can take off your thorny crown, and that halo you've got is pretty bright. So please, if you wouldn't mind, turn that off. But and then he said, now it's kind of cold in here, so if you want to, please just cover yourself up with that shroud. Which you get it.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, so the only thing I will mention about Rabbi Putz is he's got all his silks on. I looked through a whole lot of pictures to see what everybody's wearing. He combined a bunch. And
Yeah.
he's got his Margal socks and a pair of two-tone golf shoes. You know, he's got lots of rings and stuff too. So he's obviously making a little cash.
Oh, yeah.
I think you did a bang-up job.
I think you did. That's spectacular job. We like it.
You know, it's very interesting. I was cleaning out my desk just the other day, going through some old papers, and I found one of Kirk's illustrations like that. I still have it. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, really fun. You know, and the single biggest threat to Israel is Judaism. Rabbis are the greatest threat of all to Israel. No one even comes close. And it's not only because they have separated Jews from their true identity, which is Yehud, because they have erased Yahweh's name, so there's not a single Jew in Israel that know who God is, not a single religious Jew that knows who God is. They have screamed over God through their Talmud. They have lied about him. They actually created the training that Paul undertook so that he could call himself a rabbi and create Christianity. Then they betrayed Yahweh and Dode by allowing them to do it without refuting them. And then they wrote their Talmud and sold Talmud readings to Muhammad to create the Quran. Otherwise, the Quran's not known today. There would be no Islam today if skanky rabbis hadn't sold Muhammad Talmud reading. So it's those goons who are responsible for Islam and the Quran and all of the hell that Islam has brought on the world. I mean, 250 million people killed by a religion that wouldn't exist if rabbis hadn't tried to make a buck by selling Talmud readings to Muhammad. And Jews went through the Holocaust and deal with anti-Semitism because rabbis trained Paul to lie, to misrepresent God. And then when it was all done, they didn't bother to refute him, even though the prophecies to refute them were overwhelming and effective. And so Jews have undergone 2,000 years of diaspora and 2,000 years of persecution and the Holocaust and anti-Semitism because of rabbis, and then they now have to endure Islamic terrorism because of their rabbis. They are the biggest threat to Israel, and they're parasites. They're money grubbers. They lie about everything, and they have Israel paralyzed. So that's the greatest threat by far to the Jewish people are rabbis in Judaism.
Pathetic religious idiots. It's a good thing that 63.4% of Israelis cannot stand the Haredi. They dislike and the union between Netanyahu, the deal he has with them. They can't stand it. They hate the Haredi. And it's obvious. They are up, like you said, a parasite.
Yeah, I think about 20% of Israelis are Haredi. It's the only functional part of the religion in Israel. They are paid stipends to waste everybody's time. They don't serve in the IDF, and in fact, even putting them in the IDF would be disadvantageous.
Dangerous.
Yeah, because they would be a liability. They don't study math. They don't study sciences. They don't study languages. They can't be around women, and that's half the IDF. They can't eat a normal meal. They need special privileges for everything. They're weak as I can't say weak as girls because Israeli women are stronger than the Haredi men. So they're just net zeros, and
they're dangerous.
And it's not only that they aren't useful for anything; they're a drag on the society because they can't work, they can't hold a job, they can't do anything that's worth useful, and all they do is lie about their relationship with Hashem, and there is no Hashem, and God hates Haredi Judaism more than anything else, and particularly the rabbis. And all they do is form this coalition with Netanyahu, who is also destroying Israel. And they brought the country into a checkmate position. This is a great travesty for Israel. It's delightful to know that over 60% of Israelis are now opposed to them. But that means that there's 20% of Israelis that are sufficiently orthodox, or they crave the coalition that enables the Netanyahu government to destroy Israel, and they are supportive of them. And to support them is like saying, I really like the bubonic plague. I think what we need more is bubonic plague, and if we just had more plague around here, then we would have fewer problems because there'd be fewer people. And that's kind of where we are within Israel. It's a disaster.
Can you imagine, Craig, if even after Paul's perfidy, if Akiba had the temerity and honesty to refute Christianity by telling the truth?
Yeah. I wrote 5 volumes to destroy the myth of Christianity. I mean, absolutely tore it up one side and down another, ripped it apart, ripped it to shreds. I mean, there's nothing left of the religion. It would be absolutely impossible for any Christian to read even the first of 5 volumes and remain a Christian. It literally kills the Jesus myth. I mean, so I can honestly say, no, Jews didn't kill Jesus. I wish they had. It would have been a whole lot better off if they had. But 2,000 years later, I did. So he's diddly-eyed dead, I can assure you. But what a shame that rabbis didn't do it. They allowed a festering anti-Semitic religion to grow such that it took hold, and Imperial Rome became the Roman Catholic Church and subjugated Jews for 2,000 years, all because of their malfeasance, because they did not have the character and commitment and intelligence and integrity to refute this horrid religion of Christianity. And it's easy to do. I mean, all you need to point out is that the New Testament doesn't accurately cite a single statement from the Torah and prophets. Every single citation is wrong. And Paul is the lamest POS that there ever was in the history of the world. He violates every rational fallacy, and he's just a moron. It's a really poorly written tome, and it's exceedingly easy to disprove.
But in the first 5 minutes of your evaluation and translation of Galatians, you slew the beast.
No, slow it. Yeah, you don't even have to get through the first full sentence, which is a run-on sentence of Paul's first letter to the Galatians in 52 CE. And by the time you're finished with his first sentence, there's nothing left of Christianity's credibility. It's all trashed.
Oh, honey, you had me at I killed Jesus.
and I do it again.
Put exclamation point on this. I just want to say that in this recent man-made holiday of the rabbis called Tisha B'Av, they are responsible for Tisha B'Av.
Of course they are. Yeah, if it hadn't been for religion and civil wars amongst infighting Jews for who was going to control the temple and rob it, there would not have been a Babylonian invasion there, and the temple wouldn't have been destroyed, and there wouldn't have been a Roman invasion and having the second temple destroyed. So it is the religious Jews.
If they wanted to celebrate Tisha B'Av, they should just tie a rabbi to the tree and call it a day and walk away. We're good.
Yeah, Jews have been at each other's throats since the naming convention was first used. Yehud.
Yeah.
They've been, look what they did to their own brothers.
Look what they did to the woman.
So look what they did. Oh yeah, look what they did to the woman. In Geba. Look how they were during the Exodus. Every time they were religious, God said, "Well, I guess more of you want to die. We'll take care of that. Please step up. I'll kill you here. You're making a mess for everybody." The Exodus is just one shit show after another, yes, where the children of Israel are antagonistic and religious and cruel, pathetic. And when a Jew says they're Torah observant, they're just lying to you, because if they were Torah observant, they wouldn't be religious.
Worse yet, they're lying to themselves.
Well, they're lying to everybody.
Yes,
they're lying to everybody, and it's just a shame they're not held accountable. And heretofore, nobody was willing to do it, but we know the truth. We know who Yahweh is. We know what he said in his Torah, and we're going to hold their feet to the fire. And we're going to do so over the next 7 years unremittingly. And fortunately, there will be enough Yehudim that say, yeah, enough. They're a plague. I want no association with them, and that'll put them in a position where at least they can be considered by Yahweh. But at this point, they can't. All right, what I would like to do, since we're going to continue with our Luminary series, we're going to get back into my favorite book about my favorite person. It's Boaz is writing about Ruth. We're still in the midst of their first date, and first date's cool. Second date's really, really fun. So I like the second date. I like the first date. I think the first date's fun too. Anyway, well, I'd like to play Luminaries, if you wouldn't mind. We'll play Luminaries, and we'll get right into the story of Ruth and Boaz.
be shaken when the night begins to fade. Two lights rise over history in the promise that Yahweh made. One to lead us out of Babel, one to call us by our name, guiding souls from lies and fog into covenant flame. Walks first with courage, a shepherd's steady pace, not to be adored in vain, but to reveal Yahweh's name. Yada shows the path with the Torah pointing the way, turning shadows into sunrise, bringing night to the day. Two luminaries shining on the road back home, kindness in the morning, truth in every tone. One light for the journey, one to make things clear. Yahweh's call is waiting, and the way is near. No incense to tyrants, no praise for man-made gods. Hear the music of a people singing their return home. Through the smoke of false religion, through the noise of pride and fear, two bright lights are rising, and the path is clear. When the world is cold and crooked and the weak are made to bend, there is Yahweh's voice that beckons. There is still a better, and not by power, not by posture, not by empire's hollow spark, but by light that names the darkness, and by truth that cuts the dark. Two luminaries shining on the road back home, loving kindness in the morning, truth in every word. One light for the journey, one light to make things clear. Yahweh's call is waiting, and the way is near.
Ready to go. Adrian.
Oh, the song, but I just love the outro of that. That is so so sweet. All right, so what we'll end up doing is we'll do one of the Ruth songs, Ruth and Boaz songs, at the conclusion of the show. I'm sure you still have that up in StringYard, but I want to retreat to Ruth's last line, because it's the line that Boaz plays off of, because he says, "Well, regarding that point." So
Regarding that,
yeah,
madam.
regarding that. Now that you've said that, she said, now this is to set this all up. Ruth was a Moabite, which is kissing cousin to a Yehud. In fact, from a DNA point of view, ethnicity, they're identical. They could be twins. And she was a widow, very young widow, and obviously a very pretty widow, and a very sassy widow. She had a mouth on her, and attitude and character, and she follows Naomi, who was a bitter old woman, back into Bethlehem. And when she arrives in Bethlehem, or before even she arrives, she gives one of the great speeches of all time. Your people are my people. Where you go, I go. Your God is my God. It really is this powerful speech. And the most powerful part of it is the subtle part of it that says that Yahweh is going to be so pleased with what she's going to accomplish in this life that he's going to want to redeploy her. That's pretty insightful for someone to say, but that's what she said. And when she arrives, Naomi gives her this long introduction to a fellow named Boaz. And Boaz was the big honker in Bethlehem. He owned most of the land. He was the big grain harvester. He was he was the most famous person in Israel by a long shot. And he is, this one life made such a difference that when Yahweh gave instructions regarding his temple, it was the only name he asked to put on the temple. He didn't have Dod's name put on it, although he had a title that's attributable to Dod on the right column. But it's Boaz's name that's on the house of Yahweh's name. It's pretty extraordinary. So this is not your average guy. His reputation speaks volumes for himself. He noticed that after Ruth had come to town and she had received a dossier on Boaz, she said, "Well, then let's not wait. Let's go to one of Boaz's fields. We'll start doing some reaping." And so she shows up early in the morning and she's reaping, and she's not like anybody else. And so she gets everybody's attention, including Boaz. And so Boaz says, who's that? Me want to know, who is that?
Who dat?
So he went to his foreman, and his foreman already knew the boss and said, yeah, boss, I already checked her out. Her name is Ruth. She's the Moabite. She came in with Naomi. She's been in the field since sunrise. With the exception of checking your house out for curtains and other things, she has been in the field all day. You'll notice she is not much of a reaper, but she's quite the looker. So feel free to check her out. And Boaz was the very clever one, a cautious one too. He didn't go straight to Ruth to inquire about her. He checked everybody around town, and he asked, I want to know the full background on this woman. But what's really interesting, because of his answer to her, is
he didn't just check them, he compelled them to answer.
Yeah, he compelled everybody to answer, with one exception. He went to Yahweh and said, tell me about this woman. He had a great relationship with Yahweh. And it was Yahweh who said, let me tell you about this woman. I'm so into this woman, I'm going to complete her work. She has lots that she's going to accomplish in many lives. And I'm here to tell you, Boaz, that I'm working with her. That's my view of her. So Boaz goes up and he says, I've got the full scoop on you. I know exactly who you are. And he says, he posed really two questions to her. One is, he says, I don't know whether or not you're going to listen to me or not. So it began that way. And he says, but, if you are, then I'd recommend you staying here in, my field. Don't go to another field. And you just keep right on gleaning here. And I said,
I have 10 bedrooms, pick one.
Yeah, I have 10 bedrooms, pick one. No, that was another life. Ruth showed up my doorstep 10 years ago, and she had a condo that she had rented so that she could conduct some business in town. I said, there's no reason to go to a condo. I've got 10 bedrooms here. Just pick one of them. Anyway, we're getting ahead of our story.
Sorry.
Nevertheless, as we are, he's talking to her, he says, whether or not you're going to listen to me, I'm here to tell you that that you should consider being, part of. I've got a whole bunch of women here. Why don't you join them? And she listens, and then he says, now the other thing that your choice, but do you think I've told the other men in town not to touch you? And so he's kind of feeling around a little bit to say, all right, she's a beautiful young woman. Does she want to find among the eligible men in Bethlehem a potential husband, since she's now a widow? And so, he, rather than tell her, I've told the other men in town not to touch you, he asked her a question, should I tell them not to touch you? And you might say, well, that's kind of bold and on his part, putting her on the spot like that. But understand that there was a woman who had left Bethlehem not long before this on the road to Geba. And when she encountered Israelites there in Geba, they raped her to death. So Israel wasn't safe, particularly for a woman. So he's really saying, do you want me to protect you or not? And so anyway, she answers those questions by doing a face plant right before him. She wraps herself around his ankles, and she says all sorts of wonderful things. And then this is what she said. She says, I have attained and I will experience kindness and favor in your sight. So she's not saying, can I, will I, may I? She's saying, I will. I will, and I already have in your sight, my Lord. Adonani. That's what is recorded there. So she said, my master, the one who now owns me. For surely you have comforted and consoled me. That's an interesting thing, Here she is. She's saying, you've been very kind to me, my Lord. Now she's down there around his feet, and you have comforted me. Now, most of us wouldn't think of Lord and Master and kindness and comforting, would you?
No.
We're so jaundiced by what was the movie 50 Shades of Grey? Yeah, 50 Shades of Grey, where there was submission, but submission means he got his jollies by beating women.
He got his jollies by coercive control more than anything.
All right. Well, in this particular case, it's just the opposite of that.
Yeah, total freedom.
She is announcing, you are really kind to me. And you're going to continue to be really kind to me, and you have comforted and consoled me. So this is the opposite of the mentality that has somehow perverted our perceptions of what it is to submit one's will to another voluntarily. Is that if you pick the right person, it's because of comfort, being consoled, finding genuine kindness and concern. And that's the way she sets this up. Indeed, you have spoken from the heart and from the mind. She's listened to everything he's had to say. He said some things that were really extraordinary about her. So indeed, you have spoken from the heart and from the mind to your slave. Now, he did not enslave her. There was no situation here where she was even thought to be in a position where she would be enslaved. She was gleaning in the corner of his field. That was completely appropriate in a Torah community. He went and greeted her. His foreman says, you just glean all you want, sweetheart. You're welcome to stay here. She was told by Boaz, I've heard all about you. Everything I've heard is magnificent. Even God speaks highly of you. And so, my advice would be to stay right here with me under my protection and let me protect you. And so that is the furthest thing from I'm enslaving you, right? He tried to lift her up with his words, with his presence, with everything.
It's she who announces that.
Yeah. And she is the one who said, I'm your slave. I'm submitting to you. Even though I myself, there's always a catch here, always a catch. Even though I am not like one of your other slave girls. individuals.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah, definitely not.
No.
Yeah, so yeah, this will be, and he just saying to himself, okay, now this will be interesting. She is submitting to me, but she says, I'm not submitting to you like any other woman who has ever submitted to you.
No, she's setting the terms.
Yeah, she is setting the terms of her
Smart girl.
submission. and it is really, it's such a lovely nuanced situation. And I'm not, as I said previously, I'm not recommending this level of commitment between two individuals for everybody, because it's not going to work for everybody.
No.
But it works if you are serving Yahweh as a man or a woman. You can do exactly what she did if you're serving Yahweh, because he will view it as as an authorization to fully empower, enable you. That's how he would view it. And if a woman does it to someone like Boaz, who is representing Yahweh, he's going to view it the exact same way. So it is actually a strategy to be completely empowered, but in a very unique way. The person who submits like this to a genuinely decent person, entity like Yahweh, you don't just have freedom, but you don't just have his endorsement so that he can use you more effectively. You're able to be completely yourself without any concern that anything is going to harm you. You do so in complete comfort, satisfaction, safety, and support. And so by submitting, she was gaining his absolute commitment to take care of her.
You know, Craig, when I heard this yesterday, when you look at the etymology of the words Ebed and Edom, that also creates a nuance and sheds different light on how this can be interpreted.
Yeah, clearly, Ebed is a word that is used to convey coworker or servant. Both of these concepts come into play. That is what is being discussed here. Although that isn't the term she used. The term that she used was slave girl. I am your slave girl, but I'm not going to be like your other slave girl. So then Boaz, which name means forceful and fortified, said to her, concerning that point, it's time you come here. And it's time you come here now by choice or command. Your call. Depending on what role you want to play, I'm commanding you to come here. I'm also asking you to come here such that it's an expression of your free will. I think both come into play here, don't they? So considering that point, you come here, whether by choice or command, approaching and presenting yourself everywhere in the immediate proximity to me. We are now a team there, sweetheart. I get it.
I think he was just announcing we're a couple.
Yeah, I think that's what he's saying. We're a couple.
You're going to come with me everywhere. Just present yourself.
Yeah. So come and present yourself. We are now a couple, and you will consume that which is valuable and nurturing. In other words, I'm going to give you everything that you need that is worthwhile and beneficial to you. That's Ruth 2:14. Now, while we're at liberty to sanitize their dialogue, it should be obvious that they knew exactly what they were saying to one another. This was a very sophisticated, heavily nuanced conversation. These are their vows, if I may, and they were made by mutual consent by a couple clearly falling in love with the prospect of serving each other in these ways and being responsible and for each other in these ways. This is a couple that would be completely exposed to one another and vulnerable and never, ever harm the other person. That is an extraordinary situation to be in. And while there's great depth and breadth to our relationship, when we are most adoring and affirming, enterprising and entertaining, then Leigh and I are precisely what we are reading here. This is how we got together as well. We have said and done all of these things, and well, we are better for them. And I think the prospect of what God was trying to achieve is better for them. And while our relationship works for God and for us, we're simply exposing who we are. Should someone be uncomfortable wielding so much responsibility, and that's what you're doing, if you accept those terms, go right, girl, come here. What you're doing is saying, yeah, you're my responsibility, and we are going to be a team and inseparable from henceforth. But if this is uncomfortable for anybody, that's not their thing, that's fine. This is the only couple that God redeploys. He also redeploys Dode, but not with another woman. He also redeploys Moshe, but not with another woman. He redeploys Elia, but not with another woman. It's only Boaz and Ruth that are always together. Now, it doesn't mean they spend the entire life together in each of those circumstances. Boaz had lots of women around him, and Ruth came in from after her husband died. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was a widow. So there are times where they have had heartache in their lives and other frustrations before they got together and were in a position to do something that you wouldn't be able to do, I don't think, credibly, unless you had experienced both good and bad relationships previous. You just wouldn't have the confidence to say this sort of thing. You have to have a fair amount of game to be able to pull this one off. So I would say that the moment that she framed this aspect of our relationship, she became my primary concern. And it means that I would therefore provide what was best for her, nurturing and supporting her, protecting her, knowing that the dividends were going to be extraordinary, that the quality of the work that it'd be able to deliver for Yahweh would be hugely increased. And that's the deal here, that 1 + 1 is a million as opposed to 2.
Craig, in a manner, the way your free will to submit to Yahweh, Ruth used her free will to submit to, and I use the term Baos.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, exactly. It is exactly the same situation. And if you look at the other strong woman in Torah, in fact, you can look at 2 of them, Hanak and Deborah. Deborah didn't do anything alone. Yeah, she had a great mind. She had very articulate. She was courageous, bold. But the moment she realized that she needed to accomplish something on behalf of Israel, she went and found Barak. Mm-hmm. And Hanak is known to us because of her son, because her son was one of the most exemplary men in human history. His name was Shamuel.
And the story of Hannah is most interesting because the story of Hannah pits her up against the Cohen, being wrong about her, of course, and also happens to use the most used word throughout that story is Amma. Mm-hmm. Amma everywhere in the Hannah story.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So here we are, and we have a relationship based on Ruth coming to know who Boaz was, deciding this was the life she wanted to live. She made the pronouncement coming into town that this was going to be the life she was going to live. She found the man through whom she could live that life. And she saw him and heard him do exactly what she expected. Lift her up, praise her, extol her, include her in God's plan, include her in his life, support her in every possible way. And she just said, yep, this is what I want.
You're my guy.
You're my guy. So I submit to this plan.
Yeah, good plan.
Yep.
Let's go with that.
Let's go with this plan.
Mm-hmm.
So she framed every aspect of the relationship she was trying to achieve, and this is how we proceeded from this point. And while I did not ask her to do so, this is so funny, but the closest thing you would have to Adon today is Leah from the moment we met, and it's just cute, and there is no change in her, but no. She refers to me as Mr. Wynn, and it is
or sir.
Yeah, or sir. Yeah, or sir.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Excuse me, sir, and Mr. Wynn. And she almost never uses
uses his name.
No, never.
I never call him Yada either.
No. So it is a very similar kind of a relationship.
And I don't do that with anyone else.
Yeah, no, and it's
anyone.
Yeah. And when I asked her to, we've gone through moments where we've had fun with this kind of a relationship and just enjoyed what it represents. So this is family hour. I'll skip over the part that I wrote, but privately you can read it because it exemplifies this very moment. So even in our maturity, the experiences are still very scintillating and romantic. And this is the kind of relationship you can have if you're very comfortable and totally exposed and totally vulnerable and totally committed to one another. No, this is okay, Wookie. Thank you for letting us know. Thank you, bud. So Boaz wanted Ruth to shed her prior anxiety, just like I wanted Leah to shed her. She came in. She was boy, was she a bundle of nerves. Removing the facade of enduring bitterness represented by the vinegar. And it's like having Lisa ask me to rename her. When Leah came and met me that day in Florida, one of the first things she did after we had a very similar discussion is said, I don't like my name. Rename me. So I said, all right, you're no longer Lisa Brenier, you are Leah Wynn. She says, I like that name. That'll be my name. So, it's a unique situation that we have lived in this life, and it mirrors that life. And thereby she shedded the pain of her past as she embraced a new identity in life. And it was, just a model of what we read here. From some of the bread of conflict, he said, dip a morsel, just a crumbling fragment, as if either your forehead or a facade that is broken away. Just chip off some of the facade that you have, and you can dip it in the vinegar. Vinegar, of course, is chometz. It's soured wine, and it's a yeasted liquid condiment stained crimson red for having been treated cruelly and ruthlessly. These were symbols of shed it, just let it all go. Let it all go. And she settled down to inhabit a place, crouching and lying and seated. She continued to live in a marriage covenant restored and renewed, away from and yet in proximity to those gathering in the harvest. Boy, that would be her lifelong mission. And he reached out his hand to continually offer to her parched and roasted grain. barley and wheat that had been disdained and underappreciated in the past. And she ate from his hand, and she was completely satisfied, while sparing and preserving a surviving and prominent remnant, because, well, that would be their job going forward. They would escape all of the terrible things that were happening around them and in the world, and the result of their love and life would be to deliver the kinsman redeemer and ultimately to deliver the remnant of Israel. That was Ruth 2:14. So Boaz and Ruth both knew that their lives were, productive, and they would continue to be so, but they would be challenging with this. I would have said, and I wrote when I was going through this material, saying with this being the notable exception, that this was easy street. Every insertion of Ruth and Boaz is exceedingly difficult, what they were asked to accomplish. And I said, this is the one shining example where it was nothing but romance, but that's not true. No. And the reason it's not true is because the last story in Shabbat Judges, and the first reference in the book of Ruth is of the judges. Mm-hmm. And that last story is the most hideous in all of Israel. The raping a woman to death and then dismembering her, and the civil war that followed. And you go from that line to the story of Ruth. So they entered Israel at a time that Israel was self-destructing. So they were the remedy that was going to stop that. And they did. And the second is that Naomi was swearing and condemning Yahweh. And they had to turn that around. That was almost all Ruth doing that. And then the elders of Israel were slime as they exposed and condemned Boaz and Ruth using a horrid story that we'll read later. And Boaz had to rise above it. So it was not the easiest of all lives, but nonetheless, it was the easiest of that they would live. And their every deployment would be to resolve formidable crises in the life of God's people. The work would be satisfying, but seldom easy. And harvests, as we know, they require work, and this whole story revolves around harvests. Now, as for sitting with so much to do, it wouldn't last very long in this life or even in prior lives, but it would seem like an eternity, I guess, for the moment. Well, we both spend in this particular life an inordinate amount of time in chairs positioned before computer screens, whether we're doing the Yahweh vlog or writing the books or creating songs. We're in our chairs 12 to 14 hours a day. Yes. On behalf of the covenant family. Now, in this regard, roasted grain serves as a metaphor for those souls who have endured the crucible of religious and political taunts and have emerged intact through the time of Israel's troubles. And they are either gleaned right before it gets really bad at the Shabbat harvest or at Teruah. But particularly Shabbat would be this roasted grain. It's a tough time right now to get people's attention. And collectively, we are being nourished in preparation for serving the final remnant. That's what we're all being prepared to do at this moment, is to serve that final remnant and to take them from babes to full opportunity where they understand and meet God's expectations. So no undertaking could ever be as satisfying as that. Now, at this point, Boaz was not only enabling and empowering Ruth, he is protecting and supporting her. He has already accepted full responsibility for assuring that she would achieve everything God had in store for her. He has already said, then come here, we'll be a couple. And he has placed her in a position where he's already showing responsibility. So anyone who interfered in that will be sanctioned and rebuked, not just by Boaz, but by Yahweh. So she rose, standing up to Lakot. She went back to the business of the day. gleaning. She was not a freeloader, this one. She would gather in what had been left behind after the initial harvest. That's the most difficult of all, the gleaning. Then Boaz, in power, strength, and might, fortified and uncompromising, a bit unassailable and irrefutable, he instructed, ordering his Na'ar, his associates rustling about, shaking things up all around. He had a bit of advice for them. He told them, one more thing, understand that between the sheaves which are bound, let her glean whatever she wants that was missed in the initial harvest. In other words, she's a gleaner.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get in her way. She gleans what she wants to glean, and you don't complain, you don't annoy, you don't aggravate, you don't get in the way.
And don't touch her.
Yeah, and don't touch her. Don't touch her, and
She's
don't
like
take
to be
what
touched.
she's gleaning. She's the gleaner, and that's her primary responsibility. Stay out of her way. By the way, he's already said she's not very good at it, but he says, Boaz has gleaned some fields in his day. He's going to coach her. And he says, and after one other thing, and do not under any circumstance. I was talking to everybody that was male in the vicinity of Bethlehem. And do not ever, under any circumstance, mistreat this woman. Do not disparage her. Do not humiliate her. Do not deprive her. Do not insult her. Now, this is the most powerful man in Israel. And he's saying, you stay out of her way. And I don't want to have any of you give her any lip. Don't disparage her. Don't slander her, mistreat her, humiliate her, deprive her, and insult her. And that is what men did to women in Israel and really around the world.
And that is what
This
many
day.
of the so-called covenant family people who weren't
Yeah.
have done also.
Yeah. So, and she would, in this life, she would have numbers of people that would disparage her. And Boaz saying, don't do that. Boaz is inspired by Yahweh. And he says, this woman, you don't do that. Now, the book of Ruth doesn't just sit in the neatly between Judges and Shamuel. It's an inspired prophetic book. It has absolute proof of divine inspiration. It is a prophetic book that is inspired by Yahweh. And a book that's inspired by Yahweh, Boaz says, men, do not mistreat this woman. Do not slander her. Do not disparage her. Do not humiliate her. We have a whole broken away, fractured family cult that's what they feast on. Sorry. Do not do that. Do not insult her. You must never disrespect or belittle her. Now, why would he say that? Well, first of all, he's just being nice. He was in a culture where the most famous thing that had happened in this culture immediately before this was a woman was raped to death and dismembered. He said, we're just not going down that same path anymore. You got it? And the second reason is he's already listened to God tell him who she is.
Mm-hmm.
He's listened to her make her pronouncement when she came into town to tell us what she's going to do. And Israel needs a savior. Israel is estranged from the covenant and needs a mother to get them back into the covenant family. This is the Amma. She's going to deliver the kinsman redeemer. So, if you want Israel to survive, this is the last woman you ought to be interfering with. That's what he's telling them.
Yeah.
Do not mock her. Do not slander her. Do not demean her. Ruth 2:15. Well, she had come to pick up what others had left behind. Well, that and Boaz. And Boaz recognized the merit of doing this, so he authorized and he promoted her work. Those listening were to make it easy for her by making her more productive. We need the mortal remnant to not only exist, but to be productive, and the teruah gleaning to be productive. So they were to make it easier for her, to help make it more productive. So God is inspiring Boaz to tell everybody who will listen, support this woman. The more productive we make this woman, the better it is for Dod, for the covenant family, for Yahweh, for the children of Israel. Pretty good advice.
Wow. So many symbols in this thing. My gosh, you say, wow.
No, this is the coolest story ever.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a great story. Yeah, I would love if you could have Sigmund do the interview and say, so tell us what you meant by this point. Tell us what you meant by that point. All right, so gleaning would be the order of the day, and she was to be more productive, not less productive. Nevertheless, she was a woman in a man's world, a foreigner and a widow. So she was particularly vulnerable. He would have none of that. Now that's pretty remarkable in a time where women had no rights, and he's saying she's got more rights than anybody else in town. And if you want to have rights, support her, and you will inherit all of those rights too. God's all in with her, and if God's all in with her, you better be all in with her, and good things are going to happen for you. So, in direct refutation of the reprehensible, of course, Mother Goddess cult that has seemed to disparage my wife on every occasion, Ruth, in all of her lives, is never to be disrespected or belittled, neither slandered nor demeaned. And if you have something positive to say about the woman through whom Yahweh will reconcile his people and glean the final lakat, well, it's best you just simply back away and say nothing. Of course, 20 years ago, before Leah knew Yahweh, after she'd gone around the globe trying to find, well, who has access to God, who knows about God, and she finally gives up after Rabbi Putz was a putz with her. She just said, God, I know you exist, and I have no idea how to find you, because, I read that book that's called the Bible, and oh my God, the end of it contradicts everything I read before. So I'm more confused than ever. So I need some help.
I'm in there.
And all he said was, go ask Ruth. Go ask Ruth. That's how we got together. Not that I'm Ruth, but I had written more about the Ruach having a feminine attribute, and Ruth announces that she's the Amma, this most productive of mothers and women. And Leah said, well, I've gone to Ruth. I've figured out who Ruth is. So I need to find out somebody who can tell me how this relates to Yahweh. And she came directly to yadayah.com and began to read the book. So it's Yahweh that brought
I wrote
all this
my
together.
first letter. Who the hell are you?
Yeah, she did.
Why the hell are you doing this?
Yeah, she asked the question that I asked of her. So, should you ignore this advice? Be appraised that her husband is a little bit of a bull.
A little bit.
A
little bit.
Yes, a little bit.
I guess that's why she felt so comfortable standing next to him.
Mm-hmm. He is not going to back down. And he and she are Yahweh's. Boaz has a bite, I'll tell you that for sure, in case somebody hadn't noticed. Okay, so Ruth was a shepherdess, not a farmer. That we know as well. She wasn't yet up to speed with her gleaning techniques. So on second thought, Boaz thought he would assure her initial success. He is really saying, okay, I'm going to go all in with this girl. So he asked his men to unbundle what they had bundled on the harvest and to cut the bounds so that the ingathering would be easier pickings. In other words, yeah, you did too good a job of gleaning, harvesting these fields. Could you go back and release some of the bundles so that she's got something to glean? It's true. And yet another thing, he said, this and yet another thing. He's a verbose guy. And yet another thing, Wagam, you should pull out and remove, making the resulting bundles easy to seize by stripping off the ties from the stalks. All right, strip off.
I guess she was no farmer.
Yeah. All right, guys, strip off for her from the bundles of grain and leave it for her to glean at this time. I'll give her some little practice. Well, it's just like Kirk, I said, you got to get going on your show. Everybody needs to make a contribution. I said, the first one you'll be a little uncomfortable on, and you might kind of crawl here and there. And the second, you'll be on your feet and going. And by the third one, you're running. And that's the thing here. She had a rough start on gleaning, and Boaz said, we'll make it a little easier the second time. And, pretty soon she'll be the best gleaner ever. She'll be God's gleaner.
Oh, stop it. He was just flirting.
Sure.
Oh, stop it. He was just flirting.
He was flirting, but
yes,
nevertheless.
Haven't missed an opportunity.
Never miss an opportunity. So he said, in addition, never. So he's doubling down now on this. In addition, and addition to my last addition, do not ever rebuke or reprimand her. So he's gotten an earful from God.
Nobody missed it.
Yeah. So God gave him the dossier. God gave him the dossier on her, and so he tells everybody, "I have it on high authority. It's a really bad idea to rebuke or reprimand her. Don't accuse her. Don't be blaming her. Don't disapprove her or claim that she's wrong. You should not offend her. You should not be rude to her. Call him perfect ever and genuinely." Ruth 2:16. So our man-child, he was clearly smitten. She may have surrendered her will to him, but now he was hers. And he couldn't have been happier about it. For the first time in his life, he had a partner, and he was head over heels in love. Well, as he was quite impressed, obviously. Love is a many beautiful thing. This wasn't, however, infatuation. They may have still been on their first date, but he knew this woman as well as I do, and I've been married to her for 9 years and know her for 19. Clearly she was an acquired taste, but that suited him all the more. The world would be transformed ultimately by them as it was molded and by God himself about a woman through whom he would glean and restore his people. Boaz was insistent that Ruth not be rebuked, reprimanded, blamed, or disapproved. She was right. God had told her so. The naysayers would be wrong. There is nothing to gain and everything to lose by discouraging Yahweh's chosen implement. You may think he could do better, but you're not going to convince him of that. And he's all in with those he chooses. And so
they are all in with him.
Yeah, they're all in. It's a mutual deal.
Yeah.
And so she gleaned. Yep, she was a gleaner in the cultivated field as a witness until the evening at sundown. Thereafter, she began threshing. So she went from gleaning to threshing.
She might be better at that.
beating the grain to remove the fruit from the chaff.
Yeah.
Beneficially on behalf of the relationship. Gleaning away, it was equivalent to an ephah, a very large basket, 10 omers. Rich, you know how much 10 omers is, don't you?
10 ohms resistance.
10 ohms.
10 ohmers.
10 ohmers.
10 ohms, I can tell you.
10
He
ohms.
can tell you ohms,
Not
but
10,
not
not 10,
ohmers.
not 10 ohms.
I'm busy trying to solve this Wi-Fi problem.
Okay. Well,
It's about 6 gallons.
yeah,
about
between
six.
5 and 6 gallons. Yeah, it's a 5-gallon bucket to the brim plus an additional
That's pretty heavy.
gallon. So 6 gallons is how much that would be an ephraim. So she was quite the. Can you imagine going out there? I mean, these little barley kernels are tiny. The amount that you would have to have gleaned, and then winnowed, and then collected as she was winnowing this, and get it into her basket, and have 6 gallons. I mean, it would have weighed a ton too.
No real farmer would just leave 6 gallons.
No.
Just so happens.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She might have had some help.
She may have had some help. Well, maybe. All right. Of barley grain. Barley grain means that this was Passover time too, by the way.
Yeah.
So the job is done when we glean. The harvest most not only must be prepared for transport. The chaff must be removed from the valuable grain, and she would glean what she would thresh, and then she would carry it away. So she was full service in this regard.
Well,
She
here's what
gleaned, she winnowed, threshed, and she put it in a basket and hauled it all away.
Here's what most people, and I was thinking about this, particularly when Dode planted the first vineyard. How does one clear a field? Whether it's wheat, olives, grapes, doesn't matter. You need a bull. You need an ox.
Yeah, you do. You need a bull to pull the plow.
Mhm.
Yep. Got to get rid of the rocks and the weeds
turn the
and
soil.
everything else. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So she lifted up and she carried it, and she returned to the city when her mother-in-law, which is from Chama, it's Chamoth, all things pertaining to being a hothead, saw, perceiving what beneficially she had gleaned. Then she came out and she gave to her what, for the benefit of the relationship, she had preserved as a remainder. What she had left over, again, we're using metaphors to talk about the final remnant, having satiated her, filling her up to the point of contentment with a tremendous abundance. In other words, she took this back and she gave Naomi, her mother-in-law, all that she could possibly eat. Naomi, who was highly dissatisfied, became highly satisfied. She says, wow, that's it's pretty spectacular. Ruth 2:18. She had done it all in service to another. Ruth did. Ruth was saving Naomi from Naomi. And Naomi represents Israel.
Right.
6 gallons of barley is a tremendous amount for a woman to glean, thresh, and carry. Rich thinks she had help. So naturally, Naomi was all but certain that Ruth had been assisted by Boaz. She knew Boaz to be the Nakar, just as Ruth has. Ruth actually pronounced to Boaz, "You are the Nakar and I am the Nakara." She said that in her opening line to him.
You both were up to something.
We were up to something.
I've been looking at you. You've been looking at me.
Yeah. Where have I seen you before? Was it aboard the Teva? It might have been above the Teva. Okay.
Of all the gin joints.
Was it along this? Maybe it was along the shores of the Nile. That was the last time. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, her mother-in-law said to her, "Where did you glean today, sweetheart? And how long have you worked at this?" In other words, she's saying, "Ah, come on. You didn't glean 6 gallons of harvested barley. So spill the barley, girl. What's really going on here? You know, Where did you glean today, and how long have you worked? May the Nakar, the observant foreigner, this would be Boaz, who took notice of you, recognizing, acknowledging, and respecting you, be commended and praised. So guess who? Naomi also knew that Boaz was the Nakar. Without stopping, she reported to her mother-in-law that for the enjoyment of the relationship, she had worked alongside of him, the Nakar. She explained, the man's name, reputation, and renown is with whom I have engaged in a relationship and enjoyed working alongside him today is Boaz, with confidence and conviction, courage, undeniable and irrefutable. Mr. Baoz. He was the man from Oz. All right, that was Ruth 2:19. She conveniently, of course, left out the part where they had flirted. When he had revealed that he had learned everything there was to know about her because he had checked her out. Where she had fallen for him, she left that part out too. And was claimed by him. Yes, she didn't mention that either. And especially when she had volunteered to be his very, very special slave girl, but not like the other.
You can't tell your mother-in-law
Slave
everything.
girl. Okay, that's true. This is true. So it'll just be our secret. Sweetheart.
Some things are meant to stay between couples.
Yeah. Although speaking for Ruth, I'm certain she'd appreciate not being demeaned, mocked, or slandered, so she may have said that. Now, as a friendly reminder, earlier we noted that Kala, daughter-in-law, it's always translated daughter-in-law in this story, was spelled identically and is the defined by its verbal root, which of course is spelled identically as Kala, and it doesn't mean daughter-in-law. It means to finish, to complete, to fulfill. Kala is a kissing cousin to Shalem in this regard, to complete the mission. And that was what Yahweh told Boaz, that I'm going to complete her work. And now it appears that Naomi was receptive to both. She was transforming before our eyes and going from anti-Yahweh to wanting to be with Yahweh. This is the value of the kind of work that these two would do together. She took somebody who was cantankerous towards God and opened their hearts to God. Naomi, my delightful and favored one, said, to the one who will complete this and perfect her by finishing this for her, La Kala, Barak, Barak you, blessed be him. By Yahweh. Blessed be him by Yahweh. To be able to reveal the way to the benefits of the relationship, he has not abandoned or forsaken his loving kindness, his loyal love, and his deep devotion in concert with the lives and even in the deaths. Then Naomi, my favored one, said to her with words that would linger over time, this man is a close relative of ours. He is one of our Gaal, kinsmen redeemers. I just thought I'd throw that in, sweetheart. Ruth 2:20. Naomi had reveled in the lives of her husband and sons, but now for the first time realized that their death had led her back home. In tragedy, she had found harmony. In rejection, restoration. The God the day before she had cursed, she now saw him for who he is. He hadn't changed, but she had. And it all happened as a result of a first date. So let it be known, Boaz is more than meets the eye. He, like his great-grandson Dode, he's also Gaal. He's a kinsman redeemer. One of two in God's story. The Gadol would fulfill Pesach and Matzah en route to Bakurim. The Katan would cultivate the Shabua Katsir and the Teruah Lakat, and then become the final sacrifice to redeem the mortal remnant of God's people, all to make Kippurim and Sukkah possible. That's what's being introduced here. Ruth, the feminine companion and pleasurable mate, nurturing as a shepherdess. The Moabite, one inquiring about her father, said, in addition, surely he said to me, with the Ne'ar associates rustling about and shaking things up, who beneficially regard me, you should stay close as a witness whenever they are finishing and completing the entirety of the harvest beneficially for me. In other words, prophetically, where he said, you should stay close to my Ne'arah, the women that I have around me, what she heard is, you stay close to the Na'ar, the men around Boaz, the kinsman redeemer, who were shaking things up. I know such men. That's what she heard. That's what she has done. And God has provided that group of men. Worked out exactly that way.
And you said he's got no game. Are you kidding me?
Boaz had invited Ruth into his life. He has encouraged her to serve with him by cultivating the harvest. He wanted her close, now and forever. Together they would finish what he had begun. Then Naomi, my favorite one, said to Ruth, the feminine companion and pleasurable mate, nurturing as a shepherdess. Cool name, Ruth. The one who will complete this and perfect her by finishing this for her. It's good. This is really good. This is beneficial and productive, my daughter. That you came forth with his Ne'arah, young women, female attendants and youths wrestling about, who are young for their age, because they will not intercede for you in another field. So she heard what she wanted to hear, that God was going to support her with the most assertive men in association with her husband, and that they were going to support her. And together they were going to accomplish marvelous things. That's what she heard, and that's what she proclaimed. What Naomi heard was that he invited you to become one of his harem, one of his group of women. And, girl, this is probably not the best place for you to be hanging out for the last time with an old mother-in-law. That's a pretty good offer. You ought to consider that. That's not exactly the way it's going to work out, Mom. But I appreciate the tip, Mom. Yeah, he made that offer to me too, and I came back with a twist on it that shook him to his core. So Naomi saw Ruth as an addition to the harem. And they gave a pretty good life for a girl who was a widow in a foreign land that was childless, and he was the wealthiest guy in town. She had already measured grapes in his house. She pretty much could have done that. And so that's what she was recommending. And Ruth, of course, knew otherwise. She had already sized him up. She was unlike any other. She would not be one of many. Nevertheless, she would play along until such time that she was assured that she had fully curated an appetite for all things Ruth with Boaz. It might have been the toughest of all challenges, but Ruth, the one I know, she actually doesn't play particularly well with others. She definitely is not into sharing her man, and is a far extreme at introversion. So she's not going to be chatting up the other girls. But all of this would be resolved before Bakurim, and would become a Shabua, and the barley would become wheat by the time that this was all resolved. And so she stayed close, and she joined in with the Neara, the young women and female attendants of Boaz. And she continued to glean as a restoring witness to the completion of the harvest of barley, and then of the harvest of wheats. She was there right at the right time. We're going to deal with Passover. We're going to go to Shabbat. I understand the responsibilities now of Pesach, Matzah, and Bakurim. And I understand what Shabbat is all about. We're going to take it right to the end.
I'm sure by then she learned how to be a farmer too.
Yep. And she lived with her mother-in-law. That was Ruth 2:23.
A glutton for punishment.
Yeah. Barley and wheat, of course, are symbolic of Bakurim and Shabbat, and a lot can happen in 7 weeks. So while we're turning the page now into chapter 2, and we're at an hour and 37 minutes in our program, we really aren't that deep into the Luminaries portion because we took some time out for Sigmund Freud and Rabbi Putz. So I think we'll just go a little bit deeper, because this next part is really delicious. It's Amma, mother and servant. Now, Naomi realized that Ruth was loyal to a fault. So she had to get her out of the house, and for her own well-being. So she decided that it was time for the daughter-in-law to venture into a more appealing residence, one more fitting her personality, and that might just happen to be Boaz's. Yeah, maybe, for example. And she wasn't the least bit subtle in her appeal. Perhaps a little slow on the uptake, not attuned to all of the flirtatious hints. Miss Leia's not one that you can flirt with easily, because most of it just goes right over her head. And sometimes she's just socially awkward, which is cute in its own way. It's apparent that Ruth was only hanging around the mayor's Neara, young women, during the day, and not following them home at night. But that would change. Naomi, my favorite one, her mother-in-law, said to her, "My daughter, should I or shouldn't I seek another more invigorating place for you? A den for you to more fully recuperate, to ponder the implications of rest, so that beneficially and relationally, you would be a lot happier." Ruth 3:1. I'm not kicking you out of the house, sweetheart, but I think there's a place you'd be a whole lot happier than here. Now, when I share this with you, and it's pretty racy, what you have to immediately recognize is that obviously God's got no issue with man and a woman getting together and having a romantic time. This is sexually charged. There was no wedding vows. There was nothing of the sort. This was just a man and woman who come to know each other on their first date. They developed an affinity for one another, an appreciation of one another, a knowledge of one another, comfort together with one another. And this is now how the second date began. So with full disclosure, it appears that I was right. Naomi wasn't so much pushing Ruth out of her house, but instead into one occupied by Boaz. This known, should you be prudish and believe that sexual discussions and engagements between consenting men and women are inappropriate, well, you may want to cover your eyes, put your finger in your ears, and tune out at this point, because, well, we're going to keep it real. We're going to report what the words reveal, and I think they're really sensational. I think it's just this is a marvelous love story, and love is something God encourages. These two are the exemplars of the covenant, and they're real. Now, should you be of that ilk, before you go, consider the source from which I'm translating. Consider the source. Ponder the nature of the one who inspired it, so that it would convey all of these prophetic insights that are so pertinent for our day and for understanding the last 6,000 years. And while you're at it, think about why he was so comfortable, why God was so comfortable discussing loving relationships, and why, if you're uncomfortable with them, that you're bothered by hearing them. What's different in your perspective versus his on sexuality? Perhaps is yours religious and his not? Now, with this warning duly posted, I'm going to press ahead. Now, isn't Boaz, with confidence, conviction, courage, the undeniable and irresistible one, who is known to us, even familiar, like, well, he's like Yada with us?
There it is, kids, the clue.
Yeah, for the benefit of the relationship and to show the way to get more joy out of life, Asher, you were with his Na'ara, his young women, who were mature for their age, as his female attendants. So, now, pay attention, sweetheart. He himself will be winnowing all alone on the threshing floor for the barley harvest tonight. Ruth 3:2. Naomi is reminding Ruth that she's already familiar with Boaz. He knows her, she knows him, and there is obviously chemistry between them. Yes, he has a host of young women around him who are mature and experienced for their age, but he isn't married. And you, my dear, are of marital age, but will be an old hag if you don't get over there and get over your extreme introversion and social awkwardness. Naomi knew that Boaz didn't go home after the harvest, that he slept alone on the threshing floor that night, guarding the grain before transferring it into the storehouse.
Naomi might be a little busybody.
She might have been. This was her big chance without having to deal with the other women. He wasn't going home. He was going to be there on the threshing floor. That's a good place for her to be, threshing floors. So let's speak plainly, shall we? Every word of what follows reveals that the Yehud was telling the Moabite woman to appear as sensuous and as enticing as possible, to make herself alluring to the most eligible man in Israel. She wasn't going to borrow some matzah. There was no Grey Poupon place. Therefore, you should bathe. you should take a bath, washing up, and then anoint yourself with oils and perfumes. Apply lotions and fragrances to your body. Then put on your outer garment over you like it's a wrapper over a statue.
Damn.
Yeah, damn.
Get all pretty.
Oh, yes. Men are visual creatures, you know. All right. You should go down to the threshing floor without making your identity known or revealing yourself to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. Ruth 3:3. Now, exceptionally feminine and pleasurable mate, if she followed the delightful and loving one's advice, would be preparing an already beautiful body to be irresistible to a man known to be irresistible. If Boaz was a billionth of the man his name and reputation conveyed, it would be a romantic evening. After a long day's work and a feast with wine and food, he would offer no resistance. Not that that was his nature anyway. Yowza may have been his response. Anyway, there are 3 Hebrew words used to describe the consummation of a loving relationship. They are yada, suggesting that the couple come to know one another. She could be yada with yada. There is bo, which is a bit more graphic, revealing that the man goes into the woman. And there is shakab, revealing that they are going to lie down for either sleep or
spread out.
Yeah, or was it called coitus if you're listening to the Big Bang show. All 3 are woven into Big Bang, so to speak, of course. All three are woven into this narrative. All 3. So there's no question as to what happened here. One likely written by one of the 2 participants, since there's only 2 people that know what happened here. God never picked up the pen himself, so this is either written by Ruth or it's written by Boaz. Of course.
It's you.
Yeah.
You never could keep a secret.
Boaz is the writer, and he can't keep a secret. That is to say, he wanted us to know this because it was so pure. It's really so perfect. It's so romantic. It's just the way love should be. And it delivers a glorious result. So she said.
Still does that to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's true. So when it happens that he wants to be lying down, shakab, in a horizontal position, then you should become intimate and familiar with knowing him. Yada. She, taking 2 of those 3 words now for sex, told her to, you just go put lotions all over your body and perfume and you do the deed with him. And this place where he lies down, you come. Bo, now we got all 3. So there is no other word. She has no other word that they could throw at. The word coitus had not yet been invented. I'm sure that if it had been Dr. Jeff, he would have had a more expressive dialogue. But those are the 3 Hebrew words, Dr. Freud, that could be used in this occasion. And this was Naomi saying all 3. So he says, you come and you galah, you uncover, you reveal, exposing his legs and feet from his hips to his toes.
That's typically how it works.
Margola. She was explaining, maybe what she thought is that Ruth was childless, because she didn't know how this worked with her their previous husband.
That's what mothers
So
always
she was
do.
giving her, play by play. This is how you do it, girl. All right. Thanks, Mom. For the birds and the bee talk,
In
Mom.
case you forgot, here's how
Yeah.
it goes.
Yeah. So you uncover him from his legs to his feet, from his hips to his toes. Then, thanks, Mom, you lie down next to him. He himself will tell you
What to do.
to get the most enjoyment out of this relationship.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. He doesn't shut up during sex either.
Craig,
Yes.
did you just
Yes.
come up with a alternate meaning for the word Asher?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
Beneficial woman, yes. And a woman who is a blessing.
Hey.
Anyway, he will tell you what to do to get the most enjoyment out of this relationship, what you
Life.
should do.
That's good.
He will tell you what you should do, how you should act, and the way to engage based upon his wishes and desires.
Oh, yeah, he's still bossy.
I want you to do this passionately per his preferences, with all proper effort and creativity. Call imperfect, paragogic, none, jusive. Second person feminine singular. Jusive is very juicy in this way. In other words, you accommodate him so that you give him what he wants. That's what jusive means. Paragogic is mean be emphatic about it, girl. Do not futz around with this. You go all in. All right? You need to be passionate about this. Call is I'm giving you very graphic instructions, and I expect you to follow these instructions. And perfect means keep at it.
No, that's perfect.
Yeah, so hey, this is a grammar lesson. I know, hey, Kirk, you're going to be doing a
Well,
grammar
good.
show with Perry and with
Noah.
and here we are. I'm giving you a little grammar lesson as to what all these terms mean. It's
Yes, got some good material now.
I got some good material. You'll keep your audience's attention.
Yeah.
That's
And
right.
then,
Can I ask a grammatical question?
Yeah, grammatical question. Yes, sure.
This instructions
Mhm.
were delivered in the imperfect, right?
It was. Yes, it was.
I'm going. Let's
Yeah,
go
yeah,
for
it
it.
just keeps on going.
Okay. Good.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's too rich for me.
Yep. This would be an all-night affair.
Damn.
Yeah, that was the plan anyway. Naomi knew that Ruth would be alluring to Boaz under these circumstances, that even her shyness would play into this man's strong suit. He would love her shyness. He would let her know what he wanted, and a woman as bright, beautiful, and bold as Ruth she'd take it from there. The only concern was whether the resulting sparks would ignite the surrounding grain and burn down the whole city. But we'll take a risk on that one. So she replied to her everything for the benefit of the relationship and the enjoyment of it that you are asking, I will engage in and do. Okay, well, this ought to be fun. Ruth, pleasurable mate, properly named 3-5. So, just curious, were any of you aware prior to this that there was a story set 3 books after the Torah, following a book called Judges, and before one called Listen to Him, Shamuel, that served as a rather steamy exemplar of the covenant?
Never heard that in Sunday school.
No, I'm sure not. Revealing how a loving relationship would endure the test of time. Have you ever wondered where Dode got his passion? Or was named beloved?
Yeah, got it honest.
Yeah. Have you ever been curious as to how it was that these 2 individuals captivated his attention, such that he actually listened to them while rejecting the advice of everyone else? Do you know why his son wrote the Song of Solomon? Do you have a better appreciation as to why Yahweh decided to redeploy them as husband and wife on 8 occasions and was satisfied, if not entertained, to see them, prevail? In the
Greg,
whole of
this
yes,
I will say that this part of the Torah and his testimony is absolutely pregnant with meaning.
it is pregnant with meaning. It, and she would get pregnant, not on this occasion, not that we know of anyway, but she would give birth to a child, and she would give that child to Naomi. And that child's name spoke of they would get this done. They would work it out. They would be committed to this work. So in the whole of the human experience, there really is nothing more exciting or elevating than a budding relationship and blossoming love. It is the coolest thing that we humans ever have the opportunity to engage in. You know, if a person has lived a life and they have been in love and have experienced the passion of romance and being in love, I don't think there's anything that any man will ever put above the joy of that or woman. And that's what we're hearing here, especially when it resonates in the heart, the mind, and the soul. You know, you'd think Leah, for example, I knew her for 8 to 10 years intellectually before I ever even saw a picture of her. We were pen pals on Torah for 8 to 10 years. Once to twice a week, she would shoot me a letter and say, you got this right, you got this wrong. Did you ever think about this? Shoot. So, you know, it was like Boaz getting the full dossier, even from God, on what she was all about. I knew her inside and out, and we had shared intellectual passion on the core purpose and meaning of our life before we ever met. Boaz got that same dossier on Ruth, and she on him. So this wasn't just sex between two people that didn't know each other, thought, well, maybe that'd be fun. But no, they knew each other as well as they could possibly. Anybody could possibly know another.
They knew each other profoundly.
Profoundly, yeah. This was their second date, as they had been together already for 3,000 years. And this is the reason Yahweh wanted us to know their story. So she went down to the threshing floor, and she did everything according to what relationally her mother-in-law, who was a bit hot and bothered, had instructed her. Ruth 3:6. So, fellas and ladies, how do you think it worked out?
I think it worked out
Swell.
fine.
I think it worked out just fine.
I think it worked out just swell.
Can't wait to try it myself.
Yeah, I can't wait to try it myself. I highly recommend it. So,
Sylvia?
you think, Sylvia, you think there's any chance that Ruth chickened out? I don't think so. Did Boaz bug out?
Say, who's your mama?
Yeah, who's your mama? Yeah, that's what you. Or did they see one another as the love of their lives and celebrate the occasion? It was, after all, well, this was their second date, and the
it
first
just
date
goes to
had
show
been
you
quite
also how a
flirtatious.
profound and beautiful experience in the Torah is even screwed up by a sect of religious rabbis who will put a sheet between themselves
No, I
and cut
know.
a hole in it.
Right. Yeah.
So they even violate Torah.
Okay. Now I understand why they do that. They're really ugly. In fact, and I think it's Yeshaya 30 that I was working on the translation today, and there's actually a phrase in there when God is is telling his people they have to bug out from Judaism. He says, you need to disavow and stay as far away from as possible those men with the scraggly beards and the long hair.
That's wow.
They are so ugly that I can see why they do the sheet. It's the only way that they could ever possibly procreate is to. It's not in this case to hide the woman; it's to hide them from the woman. Anyway, as we pull back the covers, so to speak, on their affair, recognize that only two people knew what was said and done that night: Ruth and Boaz.
Now,
And it is, yeah, well, that was them. And it was one of the two who wanted to share their love with us. And it's actually true that neither one of the two could write this story alone, because there's parts that were only known to Boaz. There were parts that were only known to Ruth. They had to collaborate.
mm-hmm.
And they were hoping that we would see them as exemplars of a loving couple and being the ideal witnesses to the covenant. This is what God was trying to model for the covenant. Men and women come together, fall in love, conceive children, raise them. What Yah was trying to achieve. So that's what they were doing here. So keep in mind that there are no wedding vows in the Torah. A couple is married when they act married, which is to say they consummate the relationship and, well, build a family and home together. And it's even better if they work together pursuing the same agenda. And it's best when they are engaged doing what God wants done. So this was a marriage consummated 3 times over. And so speaking of pursuing Yahweh's agenda, this interlude between Boaz and Ruth reveals that working with God has its rewards. When Boaz, with confidence, conviction, and courage, the undeniable and irresistible, was eating and drinking, his heart and mind, his disposition were happy and cheerful. So he went to lie down at the far end of the mound of grain. Then she came in secretly and enchantingly, without making a sound. She revealed, uncovering and laying bare his legs and his feet from his hips to his toes. And then she laid down. Ruth, whose name means pleasurable mate, 3:7. He was now naked from the waist down, and not only was her body bathed, oiled, and perfumed, she was likely wearing little more than a smile at this point. Well, that's not exactly correct, because we can dispense with likely. When it came to be halfway through the night, and the man was startled, and he turned on his side, and he reached out. Then he noticed that a woman was lying along his legs and feet, beside his hips, all the way to his toes. It was this level of intimacy and complete exposure that he asked, and she replied. So he said, under those circumstances, he asked, who are you really? Who are you really? Now, can you imagine being there, the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen is oiled and laying down next to him naked, and he's naked from the waist down. Just like, by the way, Dode would be, because he had the ephod on and nothing else when the Ark of the Covenant, the Aaron of the Bereth was being brought into its proper home in Jerusalem. And rather than saying, "Yowza, let's focus on what we have here to accomplish," he didn't start off with doing what Naomi said he was going to do. He didn't start off by saying, "This is what would please me." He started off with a very probing question.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you really? Because you imagine how much courage this took. And first, is the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen, the most bright, brilliant woman he'd ever met. Somebody that God says, "I'm going to work with, I'm going to complete her work." You know, God's not said that of any other woman ever. And here she is, naked next to him, and she's gorgeous. And the first thing he can say is, "Who are you really?" And she answered, "I am Ruth, a most feminine of companions and pleasurable mate, longing to nurture as a shepherdess. Your Amma, your highly productive mother, as a woman keen to serve you, a mother of mothers for you. You should spread out the corner and hem, the kanaf of your garment, as if it were a wing, over your Amma, over your highly productive mother, a woman keen to serve you. For your Ga'al, for your Redeemer and Savior. Ga'al, for surely you are perceived as a near relative who liberates, delivers, and saves, emancipating from indentured servitude, slavery, and control, bringing the defiled and unacceptable back from harm's way and from their own pollution and stench and their stains by you being willing to provide the ransom, because you're a man willing to pay the price for the benefit of others. Ruth, pleasurable mate, 3:9. She said, "This is who I am. I am the Amma, and this is what I'm going to deliver to you and for you, the kinsman redeemer."
More so when she took off his garment and the hem specifically. In Hebrew idioms, that's actually asking, she's asking him to marry her. She's that bold.
Yeah, that's the kanaf is a powerful word in Hebrew. In Numbers 15, we're told that that's where the little blue flower under the hem of the corner of your garment, not a ugly tassel hanging down your leg, but it's that blue flax flower that's symbolic of the time of Passover, goes inside of the hem of your garment in a corner where you can see it close to your heart. And that's the same word that's used there. And the word is used throughout all of the stories of the luminaries. And this idea of take me under your wing, cover me with your garment. Cover is also kafar, the word's related to kafar. That's the fulfillment of Yom Kippurim, to reconcile. So it was her saying, cover me with your cloak, which means that this is a marriage proposal.
Marry me.
Yeah, marry me. That is what she was saying. We will be exposed to one another, but not exposed to the world that way. So, wow. Now, mind you, Boaz knew everything there was to know about Ruth, at least apart from seeing her in her birthday suit, which he must have rather liked. But His "Who are you?" was asked if the body he was going or just oogling was standard issue among women destined to change the world. Sure, she was bold, she was bright, she was beautiful. But now in her shimmering and anointed body, she must have looked surreal. And while she was wet, but not yet naked, the first time that he saw, or I saw Leah, when she was wet, but not naked, I asked the same question. She jumped out of the jacuzzi on our first date, wearing a bikini and a smile, chasing after Asher, who she thought was about to jump off the back end of the yacht. And I had worked for days knowing that she was coming to teach Asher that trick.
Sure.
But she had, yeah, sure. She had managed to get in the jacuzzi, which was on the back deck of Cara, the yacht, which was in the backyard of my home in Florida. Wearing a robe, and I don't know how women manage to do this, but she managed to get into the jacuzzi and get out of the robe over the bikini without exposing any visual reference to what she looked like. So I still had no idea what she looked like until she jumped out to save Asher. And that was my response was, where did you get that body? And so, you know, Boaz, personalities don't change. When souls are redeployed, personalities stay always the same. And so he's saying, who are you, girl? No, this body, I'm pretty sure, is not standard issue. Now, part of his question, and later mine, was likely due to our realization that this woman was exceedingly private, socially awkward, and exceedingly introverted. So we could not have imagined seeing this woman for the first time in such places or in such ways. In so many ways, this was a bolder expression of trust than her previous declarations had been. You know, in this world at this time, if he had rejected her, her life would have been over. Literally. And she really put it all on the line for this. This was a big, big gamble. Or it was no gamble at all. You know, it's either she was risking it all in a world that would not have tolerated that, and she'd have been run out of town and probably stoned to death. Or she knew exactly who she was dealing with. She had already had a chat with Yahweh too and said, yeah, this is the relationship I'm going to change the world with. So yeah, absolutely. Go expose yourself. It'll work out beautifully. So make no mistake, this woman is Ruth. She is all woman, the most feminine of companions and the most pleasurable of mates. Exactly what her name declares. And while she is a shepherdess, her longing is to associate with, befriend, and support her man, and she attends to the needs of her man like no other. Ruth is the Amma, highly productive mother, a woman keen to serve, but not just for Boaz, not just for the kinsman redeemers, but especially for Yahweh. She is actually called Yahweh's Amma. Just like she announced that I'm your Amma. She's not saying I'm your mother. She's saying I'm going to be the mother. Mm-hmm. Yahweh doesn't say that Ruth or Leah is his mother, as Amma, but that she is the mother of mothers in his covenant. And of course, she is the great-grandmother of Dode. She is Dode's actual mother. She is Dode's surrogate mother. She is the mother of the covenant. The Amma is the single most distinguished role afforded to any woman, and it ranks in the top 5 among men, and perhaps the top 3. And while I'm not sure if she owned Boaz or if Boaz was responsible for her, the fact remains that She was his partner in producing the future offspring of God's covenant family. And for that chicken or the egg thing, we constantly differ on whether she was God's gift to me or the other way around, even though I think the conclusion is rather obvious.
Mhm.
If we were to have a vote, I know how everybody would vote.
Yeah.
So Ruth was asking Boaz to cover her with a kanaf that she had lifted from his lower half, and she wanted to be his wife, to live within his tent, to be under his wing and protection. And in this metaphor, we find the resolution for common lot for both of them. The stories revolve around men being uncovered. And two of them are horrible. They lead to this one. And this one is the remedy. It resolves what they had exposed in lust. She would resolve this in love. In other words, God's plan is for those who are imperfect, who need this kind of love. So these stories are paired. They're intertwined for our edification. Further, at the conclusion of the 15th chapter, as I've shared, of Bamidbar Numbers, where Yahweh has gone through and said, these are my three guys. It's a ram, a bull, and a goat. And the ram, the bull, and the goat are going to provide reconciliation and salvation. This is how I'm going to deliver it for you. And then he goes into this story of the kanaf and where that flax flower goes and what it's symbolic of. And now we see it representing love, marriage, commitment. And there Yahweh asked us to sow the blue flower of flax, which blooms during the barley harvest of chalk matzah, into our kanaf. And in doing so, it is visible to us, and our love is known to us, but not exposed to others. And it sits over our hearts, influencing our thoughts and emotions, our ambitions, our motivations. 4 books later. This is the payoff line of God's prior illustration. Now, there's much more to this story. Boaz is quite the talker. And he's going to talk his way through this evening. That's not all he's going to do, but he's going to make the most of it because he loves words. And he wants to make certain that she knew exactly what he was thinking and what all of this was meaning. And of course, his head was spinning as well as his heart doing Fruit Loops. But it's a beautiful thing. We will continue it at another time, but I want to tell you, I think it's the most beautiful story there is. What do you think there, Kevin?
I like the story. It's a good story. I like how it ends. I think it all comes together well. It's a fascinating idea that told from the two different perspectives that absolutely the two people had to write it together. Because she doesn't know what he's telling the Na'ar and things like that, right. and he definitely doesn't know what Naomi's telling her. You know what I mean? So
yes, yeah, they exposed it together with input directly from Yahweh, because Yahweh flavors the story tremendously. So it's also inspired, and it becomes the very fulcrum of fulfilled prophecy. This is how God's going to enable everything he's going to do from this point forward, because his firstborn becomes a wreck. His birth parents were horrible, and so these two had to come in and salvage that relationship with Yahweh. That was they either prevail or the earth spins out of control and there's no solution going forward. And then they had to deliver him and support him all the way through the fulfillment of Pesach, Matzah, and Mekodim. They had to come back and reintroduce him to his people and to reestablish his reputation. So this is how it all plays out. It's these two. This is the foundation of that story. With this being so profoundly important about delivering the kinsman redeemer, it's a wonder that that when people made up fake religions, they didn't go here. It's like the whole world missed it.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think, Leah?
I've prepared a statement.
You have.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I was looking for something I thought would be profound to say tonight. And I think I found that in Mashal 10. Hatred stirs up conflict, but love covers a plethora of wrongs. I think it's wonderful. It's Proverbs 10:12.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, love is the way that God resolved the hatred his people had for him. That's why he's exposing this love affair. These are the people who would re-expose Yahweh to his people who had come to hate him. Love resolves hate.
And Israel knows a lot about that.
Yes, they do.
Hate each other. We hate God. We hate ourselves.
Yeah, all true. Dr. Jeff, was this healing for the heart?
Oh, yeah. Especially on the heels of 19:6 in Bamidbar. This is stupendous and magnificent. And I hearken to Mizmor 19:7. Torah is complete. It replenishes. It's resplendent. It's easy to understand.
It is. Yep. It's a great love story. The Torah is a love story. Unfortunately, it was unrequited love. And that unrequited love is very seldom resolved. But this is the most glorious presentation of requited love, of love that is embraced by everyone. Yahweh, the woman, and the man. So it is the solution for everything that has gone wrong with Israel thus far.
What Leah just pointed out, the Mizmor she just quoted, is the antidote.
Mashal. Yeah, it is. Mashal. It is. In fact, that's one of the things that I can't wait to do. I'm getting very close to making my way through these 3 volumes of Coming Home, and then I've got to rewrite Written in Stone, and I'd love to start several books concurrently, but one of those will be let's go through the Mashal again. Because the Mashal are all written from a loving man and woman who are father and mother, and they give advice to their son. That's the whole colossum of the word pictures. So, Captain Kirk.
Well, it's a love story.
That is a love story.
And I have to tell you something. I've been married 3 times. I lived with somebody for a long time. In addition, in between, and last time it was 39 years. But these last 4 years with Sylvia, she loves me so completely, and I love her so completely. And that's like Yahweh said here.
Yeah.
You finally got it right. You know, and we both love Yahweh, and I just this is just that's just mine. And I know that's your story, but it's
but your story
feeling.
Too.
It's
exactly the same story. Yeah,
and that's what I was getting all the time.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, we've had you and Sylvia here. Had at our home. Yeah, twice. So we know that your story. In fact, we tried to.
We'd love to have you back.
Yeah, we tried to get you to move here, and you're welcome to come back at any time. You're magnificent together. You have a true and deep love, and this is an exemplar of the covenant. Something that we ought to share.
So it's just my number 1 show now.
Your number one show, yeah. That's my favorite story. What do you think there, Mr. Cables, Rich?
Well, I used to say this was like a Lifetime Movie Network movie, but now with what led up to this, or once again, Israel is tearing itself apart.
Yeah.
Their self-destruction, it was necessary. It became, once again, you have to come in and fix this.
Yeah.
At a very troubling time.
Yeah. How are you going to fix it?
Yeah.
You're not going to fix it alone. Yeah. How are you going to resolve this? Perry, you've been over there pretty quiet, man. You got a thought?
Well, I look at the story and I say it epitomizes what the covenant family is or should be. And, when you started to bring it out, yes, this is what we should strive for, without a doubt.
Yeah, this is the exemplar God wants to show. You come out of that tragic episode in Shabbat Judges, and before you go into the heartbreaking story of Shamuel, where Israel rejects Yahweh, chooses to be like Gentile nations, and you go into the hideous episodes of Shaul, and he becomes the harbinger of Shaul, the horrible Paul that creates Christianity. It's really tragic. And then you see Dode with all that promise, and then he falls flat on his face. And yet he's restored and writes the Mizmor. He's restored and is given the opportunity to fulfill Pesach, Matzah, and Bakodim, the ultimate man up. And he does, and he earns his father's respect. He earns his place. He earns his calling as the firstborn. And all of that is enveloped in this story. I mean, everything that matters is enveloped in this story. The story is told as a passionate love story for a reason. And there's heartache in it, and yet there is great passion and love and an enduring love and purpose. So I enjoy delivering this story, I think, more than
Your enduring
any
love
other.
is saying goodnight.
Okay.
Shabbat shalom.
Okay. Well, thank you, Miss Cara. Let's play as our outro, if we wouldn't mind, the story of Ruth and Boaz, and we'll watch that visually. Thank you, everyone, for being part of this program this evening. It's really a very touching experience. I love the skit. Kirk and Dr. Jeff, you were magnificent, and really can't wait to see more of it. It's been an extraordinary week. Look forward to next week, and thank you all for all that you do.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. That was a most moving love story.
Well done.
And there's more to it. And there's more to it. And it keeps on going, because this is the love story that emerged in the last word picture. And that is the love story that changed everything in terms of our understanding of who we are and how we're approaching Yahweh and what roles we have going forward. It didn't change everything. It put everything in its proper place. All right, sir. Spin her up.
When hunger called and hope wore thin, she came to glean where grain grew. A woman of measure, steadfast and true. Through grain and sun, through toil and need, she walked in trust, she learned to heed. And in the wind that moved the wheat, she found a shelter strong and complete. I will go where you go, where you settle I will remain. Your people be my people. gathers us in Yahweh's name. Yahweh's name. Boaz stood as a tower of strength, kindness measured wide in length. He saw the gleaner in the field, and by his word her fear was healed. He spread his wings of cover and shown her peace, a covenant of quiet release. And over grain and over night he turned her labor into light. I will go where you go, where you settle I will remain. Your people be my people, let your Elohim remember my name. Where you are, a memorial will be there. I will go where you call me, to the family for doubt's sake, for the one who redeems and gathers us in Yahweh's name. How love was written, not in ease but in returning, not in taking but in giving, not in distance but in drawing near. Through thirst, through hunger, through the harvest, through the field and the promise, through Yahweh's family and the strong one who sows the grain. Kinsmen come in thunder, let the covenant be like a rainbow seen. Let Yahweh's name be lifted bodily, bright and clear, pure and clean. For doubt sings of knowing and healing, of a Father who calls us near. And root with Boaz stands as a witness, love made flesh and truth made clear. I will go where you go, where you